Good morning, YouTube. Morning? How'd you know it's morning? I don't know, it's morning here, so good morning if you're watching this in the morning. Today is Rock Light Day on the Gladiator. So we're going to put these Buyers. I got them from Buyers. I know there's a million different brands and 10 million different lights to choose from, but I got Buyers because I get those where I work. So it's their surface mount floodlight basically. It's just the white. I'm just going white. I'm not doing the RGBs. So they're nice aluminum housing. They do come with 3 different mounts. There's a tube mount for like a round tube bar. There's an angled mount, and then there's just a straight mount. I'm just going to be using the straight mount. They give you about an 18-inch lead on them. I got some more 16 pair or 16 gauge 2-pair wire to go with them, and we're just going to put them on the Gladiator. I am not doing the wheel wells. I'm just going to run 2 down each side, 2 under the front, 2 under the back. That'll give me my 8. I'm going to leave the wheel wells open in case I do fenders and liners eventually, then I can add more in there at the time. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright guys, so we're under the back here. I'm going to start at the back. So I use, I guess, the most wire to start. There's no secret on where to put them. I obviously don't have a spare here. I don't plan on running a spare, at least for the time being. So I feel like I'm just going to mount them onto the frame here. I guess sort of away from this exhaust. It probably doesn't get too hot right there. This side obviously is okay. I'll probably just run them here, run some wire through the frame, up and over wherever I deem necessary. But yeah, there's no secret. You can put them wherever you want. Frame, any of the cross members. You know, probably not the bed of the truck because then you got bolts going through the bed of the truck. But I have self-tapping screws. I'm going to run right through the frame, and should be sufficient. Okay, guys, I am using some number 8 1.5 inch long self-tapping screws. I like using the hex head as opposed to like a Phillips or something, so it just bites better with the impact driver or wrench or whatever you're using. But they're 1.5 inch long, which sounds long just to mount through the light. You know, the lights aren't that thick, but you add that rubber base and it starts to get pretty thick. And you see there's only a little bit sticking through there. So 1.5 inch seems to be working for me, and that's what we're going to use. That's 1. 8 more to go and wire them all up. Okay guys, so I'm here on the passenger side. My Jeep might look a little bit different than most. I got the diesel, so a little bit more exhaust issues than, you know, maybe the next guy with the gas one. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go on this tab here. I don't want to be on the bottom of the frame here because it sits much lower and you could drag it. So I'm going to use this bracket here. If I end up using this in the future, I do want to get some rock slide steps, so if that mounts through there I can end up moving it. Up front, like where the passenger door would be, there's a few open holes there. I'm going to kind of straddle one of those, run the wires up through there. That'll put it towards the front. So I think that's where we're going to go here on the passenger side. Sorry about the rickety creeper. Alright guys, driver side now. I guess we have the same spots available. I'm going to use that tab right there with the light shining on. And then I will go up front here and like kind of straddle one of those square holes so I can run the wires up forward, you know, through the body panel there. I can show you what I did here on the passenger side. There's my front one by the passenger door, and then I ran the wire up, you know, through that hole, and I'll grab it there and attach on it and go forward. Got her on that tab there, and then there's plenty of room. These are all my wires for my rear lights and my sound system, so I can follow those all the way forward. So should be able to get her from here. Alright guys, so we're onto the front here, and there's not really a ton of room that wouldn't be, you know, right by the motor or by the steering or suspension or any of that stuff. So initially I thought I'd put them on the underside of this bumper here. I got a Rampage bumper, but then my screws are going to stick up through the bumper and look ridiculous. So there is a little bit of a space here on the front of this frame between this drop down section and where it mounts to the bumper. They will fit there. It is very tight, but I think I'm going to go there as opposed to anywhere on the frame by the motor. It'd be hard to get a screw gun in there or anything, but they'll fit in there and look pretty decent, so we're going to go with that. Alright guys, so all the lights are on now. Now the real fun part, now you got to wire them all together. So instead of going from each light up front and having 8 runs of wire that I'm going to have to join together, I think what I'm going to do is join like 2 lights together and then run a wire up to the front. That way I only have 4 runs of wire up front. So, you know, the front will be together and the back will be together. You know, I'm not an electrician, so maybe that's not the best, but to me, if something breaks or if one goes out, I may be able to isolate, you know, what run of wire it might be on at that point. So we're going to try that. Just put two together and run a wire up to the front. I'm probably not going to show you how to splice wire. If you're watching a video how to put rock lights on, you probably know how to do that. So just splice the wires. I have heat shrink butt connectors I am using. There's going to be a few different sizes because as you get the wires together, you're going to have to go to a bigger one. So for the first initial connection where you get the 2 lights together, I'm going to use these red ones. Generally red is 18 to 22 gauge, and then when you start getting bigger bunches of wire going together, we'll use the blue ones, which are 14 to 16 gauge, which is actually the size wire I'm using. And then I do have yellow ones also, which is like 10 or 12 gauge if it starts to get ridiculous. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how I make one of the connections here. So I have my 2 pair 16 gauge. This is like direct burial wire is what I got for like exterior grade. So there's a sheeting on it. It's hard to see because I'm in the garage now because it's Ohio and it decided to rain. So there's a sheeting on it. So you just got to be careful and like score around the outside, work it back and forth. Pressing lightly, you don't want to cut through the wire. And then just pull it off. Depending on what wire you buy, there may or may not be a coating on the inside here. This is just paper. And then to strip your wire, this is 16 gauge. Most of your tools are going to have different size strippers on it. Just look for the one that says 16. Stick it in there. It's not really a secret to stripping too much. If you strip much more than that, then your connector may come. You know, your connector may not cover it, so you don't want to strip too much. You just want enough to give yourself room to work there. I don't really know what that is, a 1/4 inch or so. And then spin your wire, make it a real nice tight, I don't know, spiral of wire, I guess you call it. Using my red connectors. Stick it on there. I like to give it a little spin as I stick it on there. It kind of tightens everything up. And then on your crimpers, same thing. Gives you a color gauge on there. So if you're using a red connector, use the red crimp section. Give her a crimp. Nice and tight. Actually not too tight because then you can cut through it, but nice and tight, give her a pull, make sure she's on there good, and then do your next one. Give her a spin. Put it on the red section. Nice firm crimp, give her a tug. Now on the lights, 9 times out of 10, they only give you a little nub of wire sticking out, so you almost have to re-strip those. Just a little bit more, give yourself some room to work. Okay. Spin your wires around, make them nice and tight. Just makes it easier to get into the connector. And then just do light colors, obviously, unless you feel like making it confusing for yourself, but black to black. Nice strong crimp. Another tug. You always want to tug every time, because if you have to redo it, you want to redo it as soon as you know to redo it. You don't want to get to the end, your last wire, and discover you have to redo it all. Get that in there. I like to try to grab both sides and like pull them together. Another strong crimp. There you go. And then we're going to heat. These are heat shrinks, so I'm going to get my torch, melt them down, and then I'm also going to wrap tape around them. You could slide another tube of heat shrink, make your connections, shrink that, and then slide your tube over it and shrink that also. I don't have that. I'm using the OG heat shrink, aka electrical tape. So we'll shrink these up and then we'll wrap it with electrical tape, and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright guys, so this is what I have. It's super overkill, but I just have a MAP gas torch. So this gets super duper hot, so keep the torch away from it and go slow. You'll see it melt down, so you'll know when you're good. Just watch what's behind it. You know, stay away from the vehicle if you can. MAP gas gets super hot. So just let the tip of the flame hit the connector, and it'll shrink down. Keep rotating it. If it gets too hot, it'll burn. You'll see that happen. It'll steam up or smoke up a little bit. Just roll it around, get it shrunk down. And then you want to let that cool down for a few minutes and then wrap it with tape. Alright guys, it's cooled down to the touch now. I can wrap some tape around it. I usually just go down and back twice, basically. So start at the end and give her a wrap. Doesn't really have to be super duper pretty. Nobody's gonna see it. Just want it to be covered completely, down and back. Tear it off. There you go. One, you know, hopefully weather tight connection here in Northeast Ohio. Okay guys, let me explain here what I did. So I've got all my wires coming through here. I do have one coming up from the front two lights, but basically what I did is I went two pairs into one, and I went to its own, black and red separate. So now I'm down to 2 wires there, and the same thing, I had 2 pairs, you know, coming together, spun them together, and they're going to go to 1 wire. So then I could take, basically I've got 4 pairs of 2, so 8 wires. I got down to 4, and I'm just going to put these 2 together. I'll do, you know, 2 blacks to a ring terminal to the battery, and I'll do 2 reds to a butt connector to my 4th auxiliary wire coming out of my harness here. So it looks a little messy, but that's at least how I did it. At least, you know, pairing 2 pairs down to 2 to 2 to 2 all the time. But it cleans up a little bit, just, you know, it looks a little ridiculous because there's so many pairs of wires, but it cleans up. So that's what I got. Let's get these last few connections done and test them out. Alright guys, got my last connection here. The 2 single reds I had going into the supply wire to the 4th auxiliary switch. And then I put my 2 blacks to a ring terminal. I'm just going to set it on the battery right now. See if it works without having to hook it all up. And I've got my auxiliary switches set to battery, so they should. Oh yeah. There we go. Fronts are working. Obviously it's daylight, so it's kind of hard to see what they would look like on the side. Both on. the back, they're both on. Front, other side, they're both on. Perfect. Okay, so we'll take another video here at night, see what she looks like, but all I have to do is button up the last little bit of wire here, zip tie everything real nice, and call her good. Alright guys, so it's finally dark enough here, I can turn the lights on, see what they look like in the dark. It's about 9 o'clock here, so it's dark in the garage at least. So we'll turn the lights on the Jeep and see what it looks like. Oh yeah, came out pretty good. It is a little dark around the wheels yet, but like I said, I'll probably get lights eventually for the wheel wells. It shines pretty good. It's pretty even spread. Makes the control arms pop a little bit. I just painted my coil springs green for my Skyjacker kit I'm putting in. We'll be doing that this week too, so. Alright guys, well thanks for watching. We'll have more videos here in the future. Thanks.